Welcome, welcome, welcome. TBW Clips. I am Tyson. Today, the head of the Secret Service resigns. She went through grueling hearing. A lot of tough questions. Not tough, but she obviously want to answer them because it may incriminate her or make her look like a certain type. But let's take a look at some of the moments where she was on Capitol Hill being questioned.
Would you say the fact that we had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today as being transparent? Yes or no?
I have always been.
Yes or no? You didn't want to answer the question. We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way. You stated earlier Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before?
Everything is political, especially this. What are they saying? That she was a DEI hire? So all of this stuff is now political. Who you hire, all of it, right? So we're going to see here later on that this might have been a setup, right, on Donald Trump. Why? Because there are Democrats. The Democrats tried to set up a Republican candidate. Let's keep going.
Or you sent it to this committee as being political, yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bull. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th, yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman, I want to.
Mr. Come on.
We have to maintain decorum in this committee.
Let's put an end to this right now.
I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. The assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump on July 13th is the most significant operational failure of the Secret Service in decades, and I am keeping him and his family in my thoughts.
She does admit it,
I would like to offer my sincerest condolences to the family of Corey Comparator, a former fire chief and a hero who was killed in this senseless shooting. I would also like to acknowledge those who were injured in Butler, David Dutch and James Copenhagen, and I wish them a speedy recovery. I would be remiss if I did not also extend my condolences on the passing of your colleague, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Ms. Jackson Lee was always engaged in the oversight of the Secret Service, and her passing is a great loss to this body. The Secret Service's solemn mission.
I didn't know Sheila Jackson passed. I believe she ran for the mayor of Houston. She lost, went to a runoff, so she was very close. But if she would have got elected, she would have passed during her run as mayor, right? So something to keep in mind. Terrible thing.
Is to protect our nation's leaders. On July 13th, we failed. As a director of the United States Secret Service, I take full responsibility for any security lapse of our agency. We are fully cooperating with ongoing investigations. We must learn what happened, and I will move heaven and earth to ensure that an incident like July 13th does not happen again.
She's going to move heaven and earth to make sure this doesn't happen again. So I guess she was still planning on staying on as the head of the Secret Service. It sounds like she was still planning on staying. And all of a sudden she decides to just resign right after that. Why? We'll get into it a little bit later.
Some are calling it a miracle that former President Trump escaped this AR-15 attack. Unlike so many thousands of our fellow citizens who have been killed or seriously...
Did you hear what he just said? AR-15 attack. He was not attacked by an AR-15. He was attacked by a 20-year-old male whose weapon of choice was the AR-15. This is disgusting how they're doing this, making it seem like the AR-15 had a mind of its own. They need to really get into mental health of these kids coming up. Loners, people being bullied, picked on, or whatever. Nobody likes him. Of course, he's going to feel a certain way also.
Wounded in other AR-15 shootings. Whether this miracle is of divine providence or of an adventitious nature will be up to each of us to ponder, but our job in Congress is not simply to marvel at miracles or count on good luck, but to act as public policy legislators to do whatever we can to prevent future political violence, attempted assassinations, and mass shootings. The chairman and I are thus determined to get to the bottom of the stunning security failures that enabled this 20-year-old lone gunman who borrowed his father's AR-15 to perpetrate a mass shooting and assassination attempt.
Borrowed? Borrowed? Or did he take? Steal? He borrowed. Okay.
At an event protected by the Secret Service as well as state and local police. We'll ask hard questions of Director Cheadle today in order to identify and understand the shocking security failures that occurred and to help transform the operations of the Secret Service to prevent anything like this from happening again. But we can't let ourselves off the hook either, dear colleagues. What happened in Butler, Pennsylvania was a double failure. The failure by the Secret Service to properly protect former President Trump and the failure of Congress to properly protect our people from criminal gun violence.
That's a crock right there. That's a crock. That's a crock. We need policies to stop people from getting AR-15s. That was a failure on Congress? No. It's people's right to have weapons. Everybody has a right to have an AR-15. But you broke the law when you decide to shoot and kill someone. The laws are already there. The laws are there. Any laws they would have put forth would not have prevented this from happening. He stole the gun from his dad. That's illegal. He wasn't supposed to do that. He set up a perimeter for himself while others saw. And nobody did anything. The people who were in charge, who were supposed to, didn't do anything. Maybe if those citizens had weapons, they probably would have stopped them or did something. Right? Now, don't blame this on not having proper measures in place for people purchasing or buying guns. Because he did everything illegally. You're not supposed to shoot and kill someone. AR-15 does not go off unless a man or a woman pulls the trigger. That's the illegal part. Nothing he could have done about that.
We must therefore also ask hard questions about whether our laws are making it too easy for potential assassins to obtain firearms.
No, it's not.
In the AR-15 specifically.
No.
Mr. Comparatore, former President Trump, and the other rally attendees wounded in Butler are now members of a club no one wants to belong to, the thousands of people who have fallen victim to mass shootings.
Terrible.
Are ISIS terrorists and Al-Qaeda terrorists and international groups and terrorists more capable than a 20-year-old in pulling off their mass shooting or an assassination of Donald Trump?
Sir, again, there was clearly a breakdown and a failure that day.
Have you read the intelligence?
No answer to that question. Of course, someone who has training from a group of people who want to kill and assassinate and do all these bad stuff is more capable of a 20-year-old who doesn't have any type of training. I don't know if the guy had training or not. I'm assuming he wasn't training for this his whole life, like these people for Al-Qaeda and terrorist groups. I'm sure the terrorist groups are more capable than this guy.
Of the terrorists that are currently in the United States that Director Wray speaks, and those individuals that are here that are affiliated with terrorist groups and organizations that are in the process, as Director Wray said, of representing a significant threat of a terrorist attack occurring in the United States?
I have read reports that apply specifically to the Secret Service's mission.
Director Cheadle, because Donald Trump is alive, and thank God he is, you look incompetent. If Donald Trump had been killed, you would have looked culpable. There is no aspect of this that indicates that there has been any protection to Donald Trump.
Absolutely. He asked specifically for more security. They had threats. They were on alert about it. They went to the Secret Service, Homeland Security, Mayorkas. They went to him, asked to beef up security, more security. He denied them. People going to the Secret Service, the police, while they were on ground, letting them know what was going on. Nothing being done. They look culpable. It's like, we're not going to do anything to secure or to help. We know that there's threats. We're going to allow this to happen. That's where the setup is. Because there's threats everywhere. But threats all the time are getting scuffled. They're getting stopped. But you don't hear about those. You heard about this because it actually happened. This would have been one that would have been stopped and nobody would have known anything about it. But it seems as though they let it happen, thus being culpable. Right? Because they had plenty of time, plenty of opportunity to stop it.
The threat was identified before he took the stage, and the shooter was only killed after Donald Trump himself was killed.
Absolutely.
Not only should you resign, if you refuse to do so, President Biden needs to fire you, because his life, Donald Trump's life, and all the other people which you protect are at risk because you have no concept of the aspect that the security footprint needs to be correlated to the threat.
No. The other people had no issues. Biden wouldn't have had any problems because they would try to protect him. They didn't want to protect him, to protect Trump. They didn't want to. So therefore, yes, either they're just totally incompetent in this DEI hire. That means Biden is incompetent of picking the correct people. Right? Biden doesn't know how to pick the correct people. He has wrong people in place. Either that's the case, or they did it on purpose because this should have been easily stopped. Signs everywhere, right?
You knew that everyone knew. The people there knew that there was a danger. They knew there was a threat to President Trump, and it was allowed to happen. Was there a stand-down order, Ms. Cheadle? Was there a conspiracy to kill President Trump?
Absolutely not.
Then how did this
Great
happen?
question.
And why are you still sitting here not turning in your letter of resignation? People under your command did not consider him to be a threat, yet people in the crowd knew he had a gun and considered him to be a threat. That means that you are a complete failure as the director of the Secret Service, that people under your command don't perceive a man laying on a roof with direct line to the president with a gun. They don't perceive that to be a threat, yet...
Absolutely. They didn't perceive that to be a threat, or they didn't want to. Or they didn't want to. But she resigned, she stepped down. Did she do her job for the Democrat Party? You'll have to ask her. Nobody can really prove intent, right? So, I mean, I could be wrong about this whole thing. I doubt it. But if I am, let me know down in the comments. I appreciate you guys, and you have a great day.